That morning when I stepped onto my boat, I didn't yet know. The sea would teach me not only how to fish, but how to live again. June 1946, Monterey Harbor. It had been exactly 3 weeks since that May day when I said goodbye to my family. I had thrown my letters into the sea, shed my tears, and felt truly free for the first time. But freedom, it turned out, wasn't as easy as I had thought. Because along with freedom came responsibility, and I was slowly beginning to understand that. I was no longer running from pain. I was no longer living in the past. But what would I do now? How would I live? I knew I wanted to fish, but real fishing was much more than sitting on a boat under Giuseppe's supervision. I woke up early that morning. I spent the morning in the cabin, on the old mattress, accompanied by Giuseppe's snoring. The sun hadn't risen yet, but the fishermen in the harbor were already awake. The sound of their boat engines, the cries of the seagulls, the rhythmic splash of the waves. Monterey was waking up. I sat down next to Giuseppe. He had made coffee and poured 2 cups. "Today," he said, turning the coffee cup in his hand, "we start the real work." "What do you mean?" I asked. "It's been 3 weeks. You've gotten used to the waves. You've gotten to know the sea. You've made peace with your boat," said Giuseppe, that familiar wise gleam in his eyes. "But you haven't really fished yet. Today I'm taking you out to sea. I'm going to teach you real fishing." A strange excitement welled up inside me. Yes, I had been going out to sea every day for 3 weeks, but always close to shore, always in safe waters, always alone. Giuseppe hadn't come with me until now. "You must learn alone," he had said. "The sea speaks in solitude," but now for the first time we would go out together. And for some reason this both excited and frightened me. We finished our coffee. Giuseppe took his old sailor's bag and put nets, hooks, bait, and water bottles inside. "I prepared my own bag. We're going far today," said Giuseppe, pointing beyond the harbor. "Not near the shore, but out in the open. The fish are bigger and more valuable there, but the sea is also more dangerous." "I'm ready," I said, and I truly felt that way. Second chance was waiting for us. The paint on my boat gleamed in the morning light. The repairs I'd made were solid, the sail was stitched, the engine freshly oiled. This boat was no longer just a tool to me. It was a part of me. It was my home. Giuseppe walked around the boat, checking everything. "Brava," he said approvingly. "You've taken good care of this boat." Giuseppe's old boat would be proud. I untied my ropes. My hands were no longer shaking. My heart was no longer racing. I was just determined, focused. I started the engine. It ran perfectly. I took the helm and slowly left the harbor. Giuseppe stood on the deck watching the horizon. "The weather is good today," he said. "The wind is from the southwest, moderate. The waves are small. A good day for fishing." As we left the harbor, the shore receded. Houses, people, sounds, all were left behind. Before us lay only endless blue. The blue of the sky, the blue of the sea, all blending together on the horizon. "How far will we go?" I asked. "About 5 miles, said Giuseppe. "There's an area there, rocky ground. You can catch coral fish, sea bass, even swordfish sometimes. But getting there isn't easy. The currents are strong, the water's deep. You have to be careful." 5 miles. 5 miles out at sea wasn't like 5 miles along the shore. We would be alone there. Just us, the boat, and the ocean. Half an hour later, Giuseppe said, "Here!" I slowed the engine, then turned it off. Everything around us fell silent. Only the lapping of the waves, the whisper of the wind, the cries of the seagulls. Giuseppe began preparing the net. "Now watch carefully," he said. "Casting a net is an art. If you cast too fast, it tangles. If you cast too slow, the fish escape. Rhythm is important. Timing is important. He held the net in his hands, prepared it, then flung it into the sea with a masterful movement. The net opened in the air, drawing a perfect circle as it landed on the water. Giuseppe pulled the rope, waited, pulled again. "Now you try," he said, handing me the net. I took the net. It was heavy, wet, slippery. It tangled in my hands. On my first try, I cast the net badly. Half of it fell into the boat, half into the water. Giuseppe laughed, but not mockingly, kindly. "Good. Not bad for a first try. Try again." I tried again. This time it was a little better. On the third try, the net almost opened correctly. Giuseppe nodded. "Brava! You're learning." We cast the net, gathered it, and cast it again until noon. My arms ached, my hands were calloused, but I didn't give up. With each attempt I got a little better, and finally I caught my first fish. It was a small sea bass, maybe half a kilo, but its silver scales glistened in the sun. Its eyes were bright, its tail flapped. Holding it in my hands, I felt a strange sensation. This fish carried a life, and now that life was ending in my hands. Giuseppe noticed the expression on my face. "Killing your first fish is hard," he said softly, "because you're taking its life. But remember, this is nature's cycle. You take its life, but its life gives you life. You must show respect. You must be grateful." I looked at the fish. Then Giuseppe noticed the expression on my face. "Killing your first fish is hard," he said softly, "because you're taking its life. But remember, this is nature's cycle. You take its life, but its life gives you life. You must show respect. You must be grateful." I looked at the fish. Then, with a quick, clean movement, I killed it as Giuseppe had taught me. Painless, quick, humane. The fish flapped once more, then lay still. "Bravo," said Giuseppe. "Now you're a real fisherman." I put the fish in the box. My first catch. It was small, but it was mine. I had caught it with my own hands, killed it with my own strength. And Giuseppe was right. This wasn't just about catching fish. It was about understanding the cycle of life. It was about taking and giving. It was about killing to live. In the afternoon, when the sun was high, bigger fish started coming. Giuseppe prepared the rod. "Now," he said, "it's time for patience. Fishing with a rod is different from fishing with a net. You'll wait, you'll feel, you'll understand. When the fish bites the rod, how you need to pull, when you need to let go. It's all learned through experience." I cast the line. The line hit the water, the bait sank to the bottom. I waited. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. I waited longer. The sun was high, I was starting to sweat. But I didn't let go. Then I felt a tug. Small, light, almost imperceptible. But it was there. "Not yet," Giuseppe said quietly. "The fish is tasting the bait. It hasn't taken it yet. Wait." I waited. I could hear my heart beating. Then a stronger tug. "The rod bent. Now," said Giuseppe. "Reel it in," I reeled. The rod resisted. The fish was trying to escape. The line tightened. The rod bent even more. I gripped it with all my strength. "Slowly," said Giuseppe. "If you reel too fast, the mouth will tear. The fish will escape." "Patience, Stephan, patience." I slowed down. I fought the fish. Pulled, let go, pulled, let go. We found a rhythm. Minutes passed. My arms were burning, but I didn't let go. And finally the fish surfaced. It was a big sea bass, maybe 2 or 3 pounds. Its eyes were wide, the hook in its mouth. It was still fighting. Giuseppe caught the fish with the net and pulled it onto the deck. "Magnifico!" he shouted. "A magnificent fish. Your first big catch." I looked at the fish. It was beautiful. It was strong. And now it would die because of me. But as Giuseppe said, it was the cycle of nature. The fish would feed me. It would sustain my life. I killed it quickly. I put it in the box. 2 fish. I had caught 2 fish on my first day. Giuseppe's eyes shone with pride. "See?" he said. "You're a natural fisherman. You just didn't know it." I smiled. Maybe he was right. Maybe there had always been a fisherman inside me. Or maybe the sea was transforming me. Either way, being here, being at sea, fishing, it felt good. We fished until late afternoon. We caught 6 fish in total. Giuseppe caught 15. Our boxes were full. The sun was setting. It was time to return to port. I started the engine, turned the wheel. The second chance began to move slowly. Giuseppe sat on the deck lighting his pipe. "Today was a good day," he said, blowing smoke. "You were a good student. You were a good teacher," I said. There was silence. A peaceful, comfortable silence. The boat was moving forward. The sun was setting. The sea was calming down. Everything was in its place. "Stephan," Giuseppe said after a while, "I'm going to ask you something. Today at sea, while fishing, what did you feel?" I thought about it. What had I felt? Tiredness, yes. Excitement, yes. But more than that, peace, I said finally. I felt peace. For the first time in a long time, only that moment was in my mind. No past, no future, just that fish, that rod, that pull, and that gave me peace. Giuseppe nodded, smiled. That's why fishing isn't just about catching fish. It's meditation. It's a path to healing. The sea teaches you that, to live in the present. As we approached the harbor, the town came into view. Houses, the pier, people. Giuseppe's cabin, Martha's cafe, the other boats. All familiar, all safe, but I had a strange feeling inside. I didn't want to return to land. I wanted to stay at sea, because at sea everything was simpler. Just you, the boat, and the ocean. When you returned to land, the people, the conversations, the memories, they all came back. As if Giuseppe had read my thoughts, he said, "It's normal. First-time fishermen always feel this way. The sea is addictive. It pulls you in, won't let you go. But don't worry. Land is your home too. You have to find balance. You have to live both at sea and on land." When we docked at the harbor, a few fishermen were waiting for us on the pier. They all knew Giuseppe, but they looked at me with curiosity. I was new in town and hadn't been fully accepted yet. "Giuseppe," one of them shouted. He was a middle-aged man with a black beard tanned by the sun. "Did you finally take your new apprentice out to sea?" "Yes, Marco," said Giuseppe, jumping off the boat. "And look what he caught." I opened my crate. 6 fish glistened in the sun. Marco whistled. "Not bad. Really not bad for a first day." The other fishermen gathered around. They examined the fish, weighed them, assessed them. Finally, Marco extended his hand to me. "I'm Marco Rossi," he said, "Giuseppe's old partner. Welcome aboard." I shook his hand. "Stephan Mitchell." "Thank you." "Mitchell, huh?" Marco said thoughtfully. "Were you in the army?" "Your name sounds familiar." I felt uneasy. I didn't want to talk about my past. But Giuseppe intervened. "Stephan came back from the war. He's building a new life now. He's fishing. That's all you need to know." Marco nodded, understanding. "I see. There are a lot of soldiers back from the war around here. They're all looking for peace. The sea is the best place for that." The other fishermen introduced themselves to me too. Antonio, an old and quiet Italian. Carlos, a young and energetic Mexican. Samuel, a serious-faced African-American. They all had different pasts, but they were all here for the same reason. They loved the sea. "You had a good catch today," said Antonio, looking at my fish. "Will you go out again tomorrow?" "Yes," I said firmly. "I'll go out every day." "Good," said Carlos with a smile. "Then we'll be rivals at the market. But don't worry, there's fish for everyone here." We started cleaning the fish. Giuseppe showed me how it was done. With a sharp knife and quick movements, He scraped off the scales, removed the guts, and separated the meat. I tried it too. I was clumsy with the first fish, a little better with the second, and by the third I was almost doing it like a pro. "You're learning fast," Giuseppe said approvingly. "You can clean all the fish by tomorrow." As the sun set, we placed the cleaned fish in ice-filled crates. Tomorrow morning they would be taken to the market, sold. Giuseppe would give me half the proceeds. "We were partners on your first catch," he had said. "The profits are shared." We set aside a few fish for our own meal. We returned to Giuseppe's cabin. That evening I would cook and eat the fish I had caught myself. This thought excited me in a strange way. In the cabin, Giuseppe began marinating the fish. Lemon, garlic, salt, pepper, olive oil. Simple but delicious. "Italian style," he said with a wink. "The best." I lit the wood fire. The flames rose, the wood crackled, the warmth spread. Outside, the air was cooling, but inside the cabin it was warm and inviting. I placed the fish on the grill. The sizzling sound, the smell of smoke, the marinade evaporating. My stomach growled. I was truly hungry. That long day at sea had drained all my energy. Giuseppe brought wine to the table. "We should celebrate today," he said. "You made your first real catch. This is an important day." He filled our glasses. The red wine glowed in the firelight. "To your first catch," said Giuseppe, raising his glass. "To my first catch," I said, touching my glass to his. We drank. The wine was warm, velvety, soothing. The fish were starting to cook. The smell was wonderful. "Stephan," said Giuseppe, looking at the fire. "Today I watched you. At sea, fishing, steering the boat. I watched you closely." "And?" I asked. "And I saw," he said, turning his eyes to me, "that you weren't just fishing. You were making peace with yourself. With every cast of the net, every pull of the line, you were healing a little more. Did you notice that?" I thought about it. Was he right? Maybe. Out at sea, I really hadn't thought about anything. My family, my losses, my pain, none of it was on my mind. There was only that moment, that fish, that movement. "Maybe you're right," I said. "At sea, everything seems simpler. It hurts less, because the sea forces you to live in the present," said Giuseppe. "You can't live in the past at sea, because if you miss a wave, the boat capsizes. If a fish bites and you're not ready, it gets away. The sea demands your full attention, and that heals you." I turned the fish over. A golden crust had formed. They looked perfect. "So what now?" I asked. "Will I go out to sea every day? Will I just catch fish? Is this my life now?" Giuseppe smiled. "Why not? Is it a bad life? Fishing is an honorable profession. People have been fishing for thousands of years. They take from the sea, bring it ashore, feed people. You'll do the same." "But I'm a colonel," I said. "I commanded hundreds of men. I fought wars, devised strategies, made decisions. And now I'll just fish?" "Just nothing," said Giuseppe, his voice hardening. "Fishing can be more noble than war. War destroys. Fishing feeds. War takes lives. Fishing gives life. Which is more valuable?" He fell silent. He was right. In war I had only killed. But here I was producing, feeding, sustaining life. I put the fish on a plate. I squeezed lemon on them. Giuseppe put bread and salad on the table. A simple but satisfying meal. I took the first bite. The fish melted in my mouth. Fresh, delicious, perfect. Fish I caught with my own hands, cooked with my own hands. The taste was completely different. "How is it?" asked Giuseppe. "Incredible," I said. "The best fish I've ever had in my life." Giuseppe laughed. "Because it's your fish. You caught it with your own hands, cooked it with your own hands. Your effort adds flavor to the food." We ate in silence. We drank wine, dipped bread, finished the fish. Our stomachs were full. our souls at peace. After dinner, we sat by the fire. Giuseppe lit his pipe. I watched the fire. "Tomorrow," said Giuseppe, "you'll go out alone. You don't need me anymore. You'll apply what you've learned, gain experience. Maybe the first few days will be hard. Maybe you'll make mistakes, but you'll learn. Am I ready?" I asked. "You'll only know if you're ready once you're out at sea," said Giuseppe. "But yes, I think you're ready." That night I couldn't sleep for a long time. The fire had gone out. Giuseppe was snoring. The wind was blowing outside. But I was awake, thinking. Tomorrow I would set out completely alone for the first time. 5 miles out, into deep waters, without Giuseppe. Just me, my boat, and the ocean. Was I scared? A little. But I was also excited, because this was the beginning of my true independence. I was no longer under Giuseppe's protection. I was on my own now. And maybe that's exactly what I needed. To be alone. To prove myself. To trust again, not just others, but myself. When morning came, the sun hadn't risen yet. Giuseppe was still asleep. I got up quietly, packed my bag, and went to my boat. Second Chance was there, waiting for me. Its deck was wet with morning dew. Its sail was folded. Its engine was cold, but it was ready. I untied the ropes. I started the engine. I took the helm, and I slowly left the harbor. When I looked back, I saw Giuseppe on the pier. He waved his hand. I waved back, then I turned, looked at the horizon, and moved forward. Just me and the sea. For the first time, I was truly alone. And strangely, this loneliness didn't scare me. On the contrary, it empowered me, because I could survive without Margaret, without Thomas, without Emily. I could exist without a soldier, without a rank, without an identity. Just as Stephan, as a fisherman, as a survivor. The sun rose. The sea turned golden. The seagulls began to fly. And I, along with Second Chance, headed out to the open sea. I didn't know it that morning, but this journey wasn't just about fishing. This journey was about finding myself, confronting myself, and finally accepting myself. The sea would teach me this. One wave, one fish, one day at a time. Chapter 3-5. The Sound of Solitude. It took me over an hour to reach 5 miles offshore. The shore gradually shrank and faded until it became an indistinct line on the horizon. There was only water around me. All around me was endless blue. The sky and the sea kissed at the horizon. I realized for the first time, the open sea had a different kind of silence than the shore. On the shore, you always hear something. The cry of seagulls, the crash of waves against the shore, the engine of a distant boat. But here, 5 miles out, the silence was deeper. It was absolute. There was only the whisper of the wind, the creak of the boat, and the gentle splash of the waves. At first, this silence was unsettling. It was as if the world had fallen asleep and only I remained awake. But slowly I got used to it. I even began to like it. Because this silence drowned out the noise in my head, I turned off the engine. I had found the spot Giuseppe had mentioned, without GPS, just by looking at the coastline and feeling the currents. The color of the sea was different here, darker, deeper. The rocky seabed lay beneath the water. This must be a fish paradise. I prepared my net. My hands were working like an autopilot now. I was repeating what Giuseppe had taught me, what I had learned yesterday. I gathered the net, turned it, prepared it. Then I took a deep breath and threw it. The net opened in the air. It drew a perfect circle. It landed softly in the water. I pulled the rope, waited, pulled a little more, and I felt it. Weight, movement, fish. I started pulling excitedly. The net slowly rose to the surface. And inside, 4 fish, 4 beautiful, shiny, flapping sea bass. Yes, I shouted. My voice echoed in the silence, bouncing back from the sea. My first solo fishing trip was a success. I gathered the fish on the boat, quickly killed them, and put them in the box. Then I cast the net again, and again, and again. I fished until noon. The sun was high, scorching hot. I was sweaty, tired, but happy. I had caught 12 fish, a good number. Giuseppe would be proud. I stopped for lunch. I took the sandwiches Giuseppe had prepared out of my bag. Bread, ham, tomatoes, cheese, simple but filling. A bottle of water, too. I sat on the deck, dangled my feet in the waves, and ate. I looked around me. In every direction there was nothing. Just water, sky, and me. No other boats, no land, no human voices. I was completely alone, and in that solitude, for the first time, I truly heard myself. The voice inside me, soft, almost a whisper, but it was there. "You're alive," the voice said. "You're still breathing. You're still here. You still have a chance." I heard Margaret's voice. It wasn't just my imagination. It felt real. "Stephan," she said, "I'm gone. But you're still here. Live. Live for me. Live for the children. Live for yourself." I heard Thomas's voice. "Dad, don't be sad. We are at peace." "You should be at peace too," I heard Emily's voice. "I love you, Dad. I always will. But now I have to go. You have to let me go too." My eyes filled with tears. But this time, not from pain. From acceptance. Because they were right. They were gone. But I was still here. And for them, for their memories, life had to go on. "Okay," I whispered to the sea. "I'm letting you go. But I won't forget. I'll never forget. Only, I'll live for you now, not with you." The wind blew. It was like an answer. Light, sweet, soothing. It caressed my hair, cooled my face. I finished my sandwich. I drank my water. I got up. I cast my net again. In the afternoon, fewer fish came. Perhaps the midday heat had driven them to deeper waters. But I didn't give up. I waited patiently, tried again. Around 4 o'clock I noticed something. In the distance on the horizon, dark clouds were gathering. The wind was picking up. The waves were starting to grow. A storm was coming. My heart raced. Giuseppe had told me about storms. If you see clouds, head back to port immediately. Don't get caught in a storm on the open sea. It's dangerous. I quickly gathered my net. I secured the fish. I started the engine. I turned the wheel toward shore, but the storm was fast. Very fast. Before I reached the harbor, the first raindrops fell. Then the wind picked up. The waves grew. The boat began to rock. "Stay calm," I told myself. "You can do this. Giuseppe taught you. Just stay calm." But staying calm wasn't easy. The waves were now 1.5 meters high and growing. The rain was getting heavier, and I was struggling to keep my eyes open. The boat was being tossed from side to side. I stood upright at the helm. I tried with all my strength to control the boat. I remembered what I'd learned in combat. Don't panic. Focus. One step at a time. A wave came, lifted the boat, then dropped it. My stomach churned. Another wave, bigger. The boat tilted, almost capsizing. But at the last moment, it righted itself. "Come on," I shouted. "Come on, second chance. You can do this. We can both do this." As if the boat had heard me, the engine gained power. We plunged forward, cutting through the waves, against the wind, in the rain. It took half an hour, but it felt like hours to me. My hands were stiff on the wheel. My arms ached, but I didn't let go, and finally I saw the harbor. Far away, indistinct. That night in Giuseppe's hut by the fire, I told him the story. How I hunted, how I saw the storm, how I returned, how I survived. Giuseppe listened, nodding his head. "Today you learned something important," he said. "The sea is beautiful. But it is also dangerous. You must respect it. You must be careful, but you must also be brave. Keep your balance. I understand, I said. And I understood something else. What is it? Today at sea alone in the storm, I was afraid. But I didn't panic. Because now I want to live. Really live. In battle I wasn't afraid of dying. Because I had a purpose. Then my family died and the purpose was gone. But today, in the storm, I understood. I still have a purpose. To survive. To live. To love the sea. To fish. These simple things. But they are enough. They are enough for me. Giuseppe smiled. His eyes sparkled. Bravo, Stephan. That's it. That's real learning. The sea taught you that, and you listened. That night I slept deeply. No nightmares, no fear. Just peaceful, deep sleep. And in my dream I saw the sea. Calm, deep blue, endless. And I was swimming in that sea. Free, light, happy. July 1946, Monterey. In the days after the storm, I settled into a routine. Every morning I woke at dawn, drank my coffee, boarded the second chance, and headed out to sea. I fished until noon, returned to port in the afternoon, cleaned the fish, and took them to market. In the evenings I ate with Giuseppe, talked by the fire, then slept, exhausted. It was a simple life. You could even call it monotonous. But for the first time in a long while, this monotony didn't bother me. On the contrary, it gave me peace. Because every day, I knew what I would wake up to. Every day I knew what I would do. This predictability calmed my chaotic spirit. I was slowly being accepted into the fisherman's community. Marco would shout, "Good morning, Captain," every morning. Carlos would give me fishing tips. Antonio would nod silently in approval. Samuel one morning came over and put his hand on my shoulder. "You're a good man, Stephan," he said. "I can see that. I don't know what you've been through in the past, but here now you're a good man." Those words warmed my heart in an unexpected way. It had been a long time since anyone had called me a good man. In the military they said, "Good commander, good officer," but good man. That was different. It had nothing to do with my rank or my job. It was just about me as a person. One morning I stopped by Martha's coffee shop. For the first time, I actually went inside and sat down. Usually I'd just grab my coffee and leave right away. But that morning I felt different. Maybe I was ready to socialize a little. When Martha saw me, her face lit up. "Stephan, you finally came in." Sit down, sit down. I'll get you some coffee." I sat down at a small wooden table. The coffee shop was simple but warm. There were pictures of fish, old photographs, and sailors' items hanging on the walls. There were a few other fishermen quietly drinking their coffee and reading their newspapers. Martha brought a large cup of coffee and a fresh pastry. "Service included," she said with a wink. "Thank you," I said. "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing," said Martha. "It's your first time here. It's my gift to you." I sipped the coffee. It was perfect, strong, hot, invigorating. I bit into the pastry. Fresh, soft, buttery. "Giuseppe was talking about you," Martha said, sitting across from me. "He says you're a good student. You learn quickly." "Giuseppe is a good teacher," I said. "Patient, understanding. He's a special man," Martha said, a warm light in her eyes. "He suffered greatly after losing his wife, but he pulled himself together. The sea helped him. Now it's helping you." "I owe him so much," I said. "He doesn't think so," Martha said. "He thinks you give him something, purpose. Giuseppe is old now. He can't fish anymore. But when he teaches you, he feels young again. He feels purposeful again." I had never thought of it that way. While I thought Giuseppe was helping me, maybe I was helping him too. "Why are you here, Martha?" I asked. "Why in this small town, this little cafe?" Martha smiled sadly. Like you, I've experienced loss. My husband in World War I, my son in World War II. Both were soldiers. They said both died heroically. But what good does that do me? They're gone. I'm sorry, I said softly. Thank you, she said. It was a long time ago. But the pain never went away. It just lessened. And here, in this cafe, with the fisherman, the sea, this town, I found some peace. They became my new family. We were silent for a while. We drank our coffee. The fishermen around us were silent too, everyone in their own world. Stephan, Martha finally said, I know you've lost someone too. Giuseppe mentioned it to me. He didn't go into detail, but he said it was something about your family. I nodded. I didn't want to talk about it, but there was such genuine concern in Martha's eyes that I wanted to open up. My family died, I said simply, in the war, by enemy agents. While I was fighting in the Pacific, they were slaughtered in our home. Martha's face twisted with pain. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. So sorry. Me too, I said. I'm sad every day. But Giuseppe is right. Life goes on, and so must I. Yes, Martha said. You must go on, for them, because they would want you to live. They would want you to be happy. I know, I said. And here at sea fishing, sometimes I am happy. Little moments. A sunrise catching a fish, the sound of the waves. These little moments are starting to be enough for me. Martha smiled. That's good, because life is made up of these little moments. Not big events, but little joys. You're learning that. I finished my coffee. I stood up. Thank you, Martha, for the coffee and the talk. Anytime, Martha said. My door is always open to you. When I stepped outside, the sun was fully up. The town was coming to life. People were going to work, children were running, cars were passing by. An ordinary morning, but for me it was a special morning, because for the first time I felt like part of a community. I wasn't alone. I wasn't isolated. I belonged to a community. I got on the second chance. But that morning I didn't go to my usual spot. Instead, I decided to head along the coast. Giuseppe had shown me other fishing spots, but I hadn't tried them yet. I headed north. The coastline changed, rockier, wilder, fewer people. I saw a point, rounded it, and found a small cove. The cove was hidden, quiet, beautiful. The water was clear. I could see the rocks at the bottom. Birds were flying, seals were sunbathing on the rocks. No one else was there. Perfect, I whispered. I turned off the engine. I prepared my net. I cast it. I waited, and I couldn't believe it. On my first cast, 5 fish. Big, healthy, beautiful fish. This cove was like paradise. It was full of fish. I had discovered its secret. I stayed there all morning. I cast my net, gathered the fish, cast again. By noon I had caught 22 fish. A record number. When I returned to the harbor in the afternoon, Giuseppe stared at my boat in amazement. 22 fish, he shouted. How did you do it? I found a new spot, I said with a smile. A secret cove, full of fish. Giuseppe's eyes lit up. A secret spot, huh? Where? It's a secret, I said, winking. A fisherman's secret. Giuseppe laughed loudly. Brava! Now you're a real fisherman. Because every fisherman has a secret spot. That night we celebrated my record catch. Giuseppe made a special meal, fish soup, seafood risotto, wine. Marco, Carlos, Antonio, Samuel, even Martha came. We had a small feast. To Stephan, said Marco, raising his glass. To Monterey's newest and best fisherman. To Stephan, they all repeated. We drank. We laughed, we talked, we told stories. And that night, perhaps for the first time, I truly felt like I belonged. To these people, this place, this life. Late at night, after everyone had left, Giuseppe and I stayed by the fire. "It was a good day," said Giuseppe. "Yes," I said. "A very good day. Are you happy, Stephan?" He had asked me that question before, but now my answer was clearer. "Yes," I said. "I'm happy. Not completely. Maybe I never will be completely. But right now, in this moment, yes, I'm happy." Giuseppe nodded. "That's enough. That's enough." That night, as I lay in bed, I looked out the window. The stars were shining. The moonlight illuminated the sea. The second chance was gently rocking at the dock, and I thought, a year ago I was in Okinawa. I was in the middle of the war. I was close to death. Then my family died, my world collapsed. But now, here in Monterey, I was building a new world. Small, simple, but mine. Margaret, Thomas, Emily. I would never forget them, but I no longer lived with them. I lived with their memories, and that difference mattered. I closed my eyes. I listened to the sound of the waves, and I slept peacefully. 2 months had passed since I first went out to sea. 2 months, but it felt like a lifetime. I was no longer just a survivor. I was a person who was living. The difference may seem small, but to me it was enormous. Every morning, going out to sea was no longer a duty, but a necessity. Just like breathing, like eating. The second chance was no longer just a boat. It was my limb, my home, my refuge. When I held the wheel, I felt whole. That morning was different. When I woke up, there was a strange light in the sky. It was dawn, but the air glowed pink and orange. The sea was like a mirror, not a ripple. There wasn't even a breeze. Giuseppe met me at the dock. He had a strange look on his face. "Today is a special day," he said mysteriously. "Why?" I asked. "I don't know," he said, looking up at the sky. "But when the weather is like this, the sea gives a gift. Once a year, maybe." The first 5 miles were familiar waters, but after the 6th mile, everything changed. The water was a deeper blue, almost turning to indigo. The depth had increased. I could no longer see the bottom. There was nothing around, no coastline, no other boats, nothing. Just endless blue 7th mile, 8th mile, 9th mile, and finally I reached the 10th mile. I turned off the engine. Complete silence fell. I could only hear my heartbeat. The boat rocked gently. There were no waves, just the slow breath of the ocean. I sat down. As Giuseppe said, I didn't fish. I just waited. I observed. I listened. The sun began to rise. The light hit the water, creating millions of sparkles. It was as if diamonds had been scattered across the sea. Then I saw something. Far away, maybe 100 meters away, a movement on the water's surface. Something big, very big. I stood up. I squinted my eyes. The movement came closer, and then I saw it. A whale, a huge, magnificent, majestic whale. Its gray back glistened on the water's surface. It swam slowly, breathing, spouting water. My breath caught in my throat. I had never seen such a large, such a beautiful creature in my life. I had read about them in books, seen them in pictures, but to see one in real life, it was indescribable. The whale came alongside my boat. It was so close I could have reached out and touched it. But I didn't touch it. I just watched. The whale circled my boat. It was as if it was studying me. Its large eye looked at me, and in that gaze I saw something. Intelligence, curiosity, peace. "Hello?" I whispered. "My beautiful friend." The whale made a sound as if it understood. It was a deep, echoing, melodic sound. It was like it was singing, and in that moment, I understood. This was the gift Giuseppe had spoken of. The whale. The ocean's gift. The miracle the sea had shown me. Minutes passed. Maybe half an hour. The whale stayed there with me. It played, turned, dove into the water, surfaced, and I just watched. I was spellbound. Then, the whale slowly drifted away. It spouted water one last time, showed its back, and dove into the depths. It was gone, but the feeling it left behind remained. A warm, deep, meaningful feeling inside me. It was as if the whale had given me a message. You are not alone. This ocean is shared with you. You are part of this world. And that is a beautiful thing. I sat there. My hands were trembling, not from fear, but from excitement. There were tears in my eyes, not from sadness, but from happiness. It was the most beautiful moment of my life. The day I married Margaret, the day Thomas was born, the day Emily took her first steps. They were all beautiful. But this was different. Because this was my moment alone. A moment I didn't share with anyone, just between the sea and me. I stayed there a little longer. Then I prepared my net. I caught a few fish, enough. I wasn't greedy, because today, profit didn't matter. The experience mattered. When I returned to the harbor in the afternoon, Giuseppe was waiting for me. He looked at my face and understood. You saw it, he said. Not a question, a statement. Yes, I said. The whale. An enormous whale. Giuseppe nodded, smiled. I knew it. When the weather is like this, whales come out. They are the spirit of the sea. To see them is luck. A blessing. I feel blessed, I said. Truly. That evening I told Giuseppe every detail. What the whale looked like, how it moved, how its eyes looked, what its voice sounded like. Everything. Giuseppe listened, nodding his head. You're lucky, Stephan. Some fishermen never see a whale in their entire lives. You saw one in 2 months. That means the sea has accepted you. You are now a child of the sea. A child of the sea, I repeated. I liked that expression. Yes, said Giuseppe. And the child of the sea is never alone. Because the sea is always with him. That night lying in my bed, I thought, 2 months ago, when I came here, I was a broken man. I was dead inside, but the sea had revived me. Fishing had given me purpose. Giuseppe had given me wisdom. This community had given me a sense of belonging. And today the whale had given me hope. The past no longer weighed me down. Margaret, Thomas, Emily, I loved them. I missed them. I remembered them. But I was no longer their ghost. I was living my own life, and this life was beautiful. The next morning I went out to sea as usual. But this time I did something different. I hung a small sign on my boat. I had written on it, Margaret, Thomas, Emily, I love you, always. This journey is for you. The sign would stay on the boat. Every time I went out to sea, I would see them. I wouldn't forget, but now I would sail not with their weight, but with their love. I set out to sea. The sun rose. The seagulls screeched. The waves crashed rhythmically, and I, Stephan Mitchell, former colonel, now fisherman, captain of the Second Chance, sailed toward the horizon, because life went on. The sea was calling me, and I was answering every day, every wave, every fish. They all taught me something. Patience, acceptance, peace, gratitude. Giuseppe was right. The sea didn't just teach me how to fish. It taught me how to live. Truly, deeply, meaningfully. And I was learning. Wave by wave. Day by day. I was living my second chance. And this was the most beautiful gift. If you are curious about Stephan's inspiring life story, like the video and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on the stories we share every day.